Let's look at some misleading charts. So visual displays of data can be intentionally or unintentionally misleading in the following ways. We can have incorrect or unscaled axes. So here, if we look at this chart, I want you to look carefully at both axes. So on the y-axis, everything's evenly spaced. So we go up 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. And so it has a cadence of going by 5 at every step. But if you look at the x-axis, it goes from 0 to 5, 5 to 10. You're like, okay, cool. But then it goes from 10 to 20. And then so that's a jump of 10. But then it goes 20 to 25. So now we're jumping by 5 again. And then it goes 25 to 27. So only a jump of 2. And then 27 to 30, a jump of 3. And when you are labeling your x and y axes, physical space is supposed to be representative of some sort of measure. So if you look at the y-axis, they're evenly spaced out and they all jump by 5. So that space in between represents 5. On the x-axis, all the numbers are evenly spaced out, but the distance between them is changing. And so that's an incorrect or unscaled axis. And that is misleading because if we were to look at what this chart should look like based on proper scaling, it would look like this. And so you can see that these really don't show the same thing. In the misleading or incorrect version, it's showing a very steep ascent early on, like something is just shooting to the top. But if you look at the corrected graph, you can see that the ascent is quite gradual. And that has everything to do with scaling of axes. So in the next example of a misleading chart, you might have incorrectly plotted data. So here, if we look at what appears to be quarters, and then let's just assume this is like profits or something. So we've got $5,000 profit, then $4,000 profit, then $2,000 profit, and then $2,010 profit. So it kind of looks like in the fourth quarter, it really picked back up. But you'll notice something odd, that the height of the fourth quarter and the height of the second quarter are very nearly the same. Yet one of them is 4,000 and one of them is 2010. So that fourth quarter plot is a bit wonky. Let's look at what a corrected graph would show us. So here we would show that actually in the fourth quarter, we didn't see much growth because there's really not that much difference between $2,000 and $2,010. All right, lastly, we're going to show graphs that do not start at 0. So what this does, this makes things look far apart when they are not. And here we have a bar chart. We've got some qualitative data, which is that we're asking people what their political affiliation is, Democrat, Republican, or Independent. And there's a court decision that comes out, and we're asking people, hey, did you agree with the court decision? So 62% of Democrats said they did. 54% of Republicans said they did. And 54% of independents said they did. And so in this chart, it's looking like, wow, Democrats like really agreed with this court decision versus the Republicans and independents who didn't really agree with it at all. We're given that impression by how different the bar heights are. But notice where the red triangle is, we didn't start this at 0. We started this at 50%. So if we were to graph this, starting our y-axis at 0, it would look like this. And when you look at the chart in this context, you could be like, yeah, there's not like that much difference. Certainly Democrats did favor the court decision more, but not in the way that's really portrayed in that misleading version of the graph. All right, and this is probably one of my favorite ones. I'm not even sure if it's like real or fake, but it's just funny. Okay, this is 2012. So this is like, oh my goodness. Okay, we've got GOP candidates for 2012. We've got Palin, Romney, and Huckabee, and we've got a pie chart, and it is delightful because if you notice, the pie chart is well over 100%. Well over 100%. And what's interesting is that each slice is shown to be a third. So you would expect, okay, if that red slice is Palin, it should be 33.33 da, 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 percent. But it's not, it's 70. And then if you look at the green slice, you'd be like, oh, that's a third of the pie. That's the Romney slice. So that should also be 33.33 da, 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 percent. But it's not, it's 60%. So first of all, the total percentage is over 100. So that's ridiculous, not allowed. And then secondly, each slice of the pie is the same area, which would, in a correct pie chart, indicate equal percentages for each category. But here that's not true. Palin leads, followed by Huckabee, followed by Romney. They're all different percentages. So that's not reflected either. So anyway, just something I wanted to share. I hope that makes you giggle a little bit.